Katrina, it was Rita right afterwards.
Right.
And there were so many sisters and brothers that stood in need, and we had residential halls that we had plans for, but like I said, God had other plans. And so we availed ourselves to take in as many, it was hundreds of people, but we did it because that's what we were called to do. And so the fact that we received thanks, that's much appreciated, but that is not why we did what we did, that's not why we do what we do, and that's not why we want to continue to do what we do. The reason why we do that is because for us, Black Lives Matter, and that is a divine cause. And if no one else is going to stand up and act like Black Lives Matter, we're going to do it. But I am thankful that I'm in a room full of folk that recognize that and have been doing the work, and I'm appreciative of all the work and the workers that I see out there, and we're going to continue to do our part as well. Thank you.
The next person I want to call up, and then we will also, okay. I want to call up another one of those unsung heroes, at least in my opinion. He is unsung, and that is because he's not somebody who's looking for a lot of kudos, a lot of recognition for what he does. He just keeps on keeping on like that little bunny that keeps running all the time. He just keeps running after justice. You know, every time you see him, he's running after justice somewhere, and he never quits. And he belongs to a distinguished national organization that he is the national chair. He was once the local chair, but he's the national chair of the National Black United Front. And we have been friends and colleagues since I've been here in Houston, and before that time as well. We have so many mutual friends together. They just had their national conference here, which was a wonderful and glorious time. But I want to say that I knew when I came to Houston, and I was about to say got off that boat, but it felt like I had gotten off that boat when I landed here, Representative Turner. That's how I felt, like a boat. But we had to wind up going to the Astrodome. But I knew that there was at least a soul who I could call and say, brother, I got a battle on my hands, would you mind standing with me? And didn't have to ask him that twice, because he said, just come on, brother Tangalizi, let's go. What do we need to do? And every day he was there. Every day he was at the service centers. He was at the Astrodome. I don't see how he got all over Houston as big as Houston is. I learned the hard way how big it is. But I don't see how he got around all the places that he did, but he was there. Whenever Arlenians had a problem, this brother was there, and he was fighting the institutions of government. He was fighting the justice system, fighting the private sector, and fighting for religious institutions to be relevant and social institutions to be relevant. And I can't tell you how much that has meant to me, brother, to see you consistently on the battlefield for your people, fighting for justice, and especially for us New Orleanians, when we didn't know what was to happen next. We knew that we had a friend in you, and if we never said thank you before, we're certainly publicly saying thank you and recognizing you now, and asking our distinguished warrior friend, Brother Kofi Tahaka, to come to the podium. And let's give him a round of
from the officers and members of the National Black United Front, to NOAH, to Dr. Sanyika, our comrade in struggle, we bring you warm greetings. Brothers and sisters, you know I have to love y'all a whole lot. Come on. To listen to all of the politicians and preachers. I love y'all. Thank you. To stay and listen. There's a couple of things I want to mention about Katrina. We come to the situation with Katrina from the standpoint of being Pan-Africans.
That's right.
We come to it from the standpoint of being black nationalists.
That's right.
And one of the most important things that we did along with other groups, in addition to all of the aid and everything that took place, was we stood together and connected with our grassroots brothers and sisters from New Orleans, and we beat back the media when they tried to call our brothers and sisters refugees, when they tried to, when other black folks who weren't conscious tried to say that the people from New Orleans were going to come here and ruin Houston when there was divisiveness on the streets. We stood together, Brother Robert. We stood together, Cardinal Swad. We stood together with those activists to say, no, these are our people. And what, yeah, you can give that a hand clap. And as he said, we didn't have any institutions that we weren't willing to help our brothers and sisters challenge. Because we're bought by no one. Do you understand what I'm saying? When people in the hood was trying to say, yeah, when it was gang, quote unquote warfare going on, we're the ones that said to the brothers and sisters, no, we are all brothers and sisters.
That's right.
Because we have a certain mindset. And that is a big, big contribution. We know that our people would do that for us any place that we would go.
That's right.
I want to mention a couple of organizations to you just for the historical record. Out of Brooklyn, New York, the December 12th movement. They sent a tractor trailer from Brooklyn to 3rd Ward, Houston, and said, this is for our brothers and sisters in New Orleans.
That's right.
Know them. They are revolutionaries. Yeah. They are serious brothers and sisters. I want to mention the new Black Panther Party under the leadership of Sister Crystal Muhammad. And at that time, Malik Muhammad. They did something that I thought was just powerful. You know, people were at the Astrodome, right? They said the city was on lockdown because of the National Guard. Thank you, brother. The National Guard. They got a bus, because people were still calling. They got a bus. In some kind of way, they found their way into New Orleans, picked up people, brought them back over to the other S.H.A.P.E Community Center, and these people were mad. They were pissed off as hell because they had been stuck there for 7 and 8 days. They did that. That's a fact, brothers and sisters. And we saw the trauma as we were here to receive our brothers and sisters. So, as Cardinal Swad said, those of us who believe in service is not about the awards and what have you, but I did want to tell you just a few of the things that might get slipped over because they're not going to put us on CNN sometime. Now, Congressman Green was here, and what he didn't tell you was, after we had went down to the Astrodome, and Bill White and the other person who was over the county, they were giving daily briefings. However, the information that was coming forward was not accurate information, Pastor. Pastor Cofield know what I'm talking about. We was down there at the Astrodome. We said, what? And they shipping people off on buses and everything. So I called Congressman Green. I said, Congressman Green, this is Brother Cofield. How you doing, brother? I said, man, what in the hell is going on with our people? Who from our community is at the table when they're making decisions? And if ain't nobody from our community there, tell us which door to go in and we'll kick the damn door down.
That's right.
See, we're in the hardcore, brother.
That's it. Go ahead.
And Congressman Green with his normal tact, he said, now, wait a minute, brother. Because the information wasn't adding up. There was a lot of frustration on our part for those of us who wanted to help, and we couldn't help. But we're sincerely thankful for this. We're always our brothers and sisters. I'm not from Texas or Louisiana, but I'm at home wherever African people are. I was at the first anniversary of Katrina. I got on the bus. They asked me to come down there on one of the buses, right? So I really didn't have time to prepare. So I said, look, I'm hungry. Who got some chicken? You know what they say, right? Come here, baby. I had a 10-piece. We love y'all, black people. We love you.
Somebody had accused the New Orleanian of taking advantage of her.
Right.
And we had all vowed together, Orleanians and Houstonians, that we were not going to tolerate that from nobody. That's right. And we were going to find somebody that particular day. Turns out the whole thing was a fraud.
That's right.
But yeah, it was a hoax. But the important thing is black men stood up. Y'all understand that? Black men stood up and said, no, simply not going to happen. We're not going to tolerate it. And Brother Kofi has always been consistent in his fight for struggle for justice. Wherever injustice is, that brother will be there, and you can count on that, and you can take that to the bank 5 times over.
Yes.
So if you ever get in a problem, that's who you call. Now, you also need to support the organization. I just got to say it, because they don't get grants. They don't get contributions. They just do what they do out of love for their people. And we need to learn how to support them. Thank you very much. Just want to acknowledge the presence of Representative Sylvester Turner, who is here, and also the Honorable friend Judon Boney, who is in the House. They've been recognized by the Congressperson, but I wanted to do that and give them an opportunity to say something after we finish with the program, if that's all right with you all, after we finish, because I want to honor the time and what we need to finish. The last honoree that we have, we did honor also St. John's United Methodist Church, but I don't think Pastor Rasmus is here with us this evening. There's some members of that congregation here, but they did some very special things to support Orleanians, and still have many Orleanians in their congregation as well. And we want to at least let the public record reflect our deep appreciation and thanks for the work that they did during that particular time. The last honoree that we want to recognize this evening is somebody who all of you already know, but I want to just introduce again because he represents a legacy, not just himself, but a legacy and a tradition, long tradition of fighting for justice and peace and liberation. And you know, when Katrina happened, a lot of people were afraid to say but so much. I know everybody was frustrated, but a lot of people were afraid to say but so much about it. But we do know that there was one institution in America that was not going to be afraid to say what needed to be said and to be there to support us, and that was the Nation of Islam. And I must say that because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, regardless of what people think about him, he was there for us when we needed a friend, and said whatever we in the nation have is available to the people of New Orleans. And you know, you don't know how much that means until you're in that situation, until it's you. You know, when you need somebody and there's somebody who's there for you, then you really know what it means to have a true friend. And we had a true friend and still do as a group of people, and I think all of humanity has a friend, no matter, again, what people think about the worldview of that organization or its leadership. You cannot deny that it is an uncompromising advocate for justice and liberation. Amen. And opposed to oppression and exploitation of human life anywhere it is in the world. And you have to love and respect that in the times that we're living in. Minister Farrakhan sent his own film crew to New Orleans to do his own documentary so that the truth would be told. That's right. I know you all don't know that. All of you think Spike Lee did the only documentary, not so. Minister Farrakhan did his own documentary. So I just want you to know that. But anyway, you have here, I think, in Houston, one of the premier sons of struggle, if you would, one of the darker lights, and I mean darker in a good way, one of the darker lights of goodness here in the city of Houston, a brother who has been on the battlefield for all of his life, all of his adult and his professional life, someone who I have come to know very well and to just love as a friend and as a colleague and as a fellow warrior. He is the student minister of Mosque number 45 in the Southwest Regional Vice President for the Nation of Islam, and represents the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I just don't think you get any blacker and better than Robert Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
time. Be able to lend my voice, my spirit, and all that God has given me to try to help a people in need. Just want to say, you know, Brother Sylvester, State Representative Turner, when I became student minister of Mons 45, 1987, nobody knew who I was because I'm originally from New York.
That's right.
And nobody knew who I was. And I would invite people out to events, and nobody would come.
That's right.
So I just went around the city, going to other people's events. Eventually they said, well, the Nation of Islam is here. Your Nick, Robert Muhammad. Then they would let me do the benediction. Then I'll get invited to do the invocation. And a couple of people got brave and they let me give a couple keynote speeches. But they really didn't know who we was until September 17th, 1990, when we filled the Sam Houston Coliseum with 12,000 people without any media whatsoever. We pushed tickets and filled up the place. Then after that, you know, right after that, I got plaques, certificates of appreciation and recognition from almost everyone. When I got my first plaque of recognition, I called Minister Farrakhan because I panicked. I was very afraid, Junan. I didn't understand after operating for 3 years in relative obscurity. Why all of a sudden now I'm starting to get all these invitations of appreciation.
New friend.
Yeah, new friends. But the thing was that I called the minister and he said these words to me. He said, well, brother, he says, honor comes when the work is done.
All right.
He said, brother, look at the condition of our people. Is the work done? I said, no, sir, brother minister. He said, well, then accept the award, brother, as encouragement to keep on keeping on. And so the work is not done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because, dear brothers and sisters, as my study academically and professionally is in urban planning and environmental policy, as I'm trying to complete this PhD, do you know that Katrina and the tragedy of Katrina is part of my PhD in totally changing the sustainability model? You've heard this word, resilient New Orleans. It literally is alive. Because resilience means the ability of a social ecological system to absorb disturbance without changing its identity, its structure, and its function, or to adapt and transform to a higher stable state equilibrium. I'm here to say, brothers and sisters, without the lower ninth ward being rebuilt, it's not the same New Orleans. Without the people here in Houston and throughout the country who don't have an option to return to New Orleans, it is not resilient.
That's right. That's right, brother.
Without equity, there is no resilience. You cannot have a city that's 58% black, and yet the majority of the males there are unemployed, still involved in criminal activity, are disproportionately poor and powerless. And in 1,000 years, you wouldn't have had a white man in New Orleans had not Katrina come by and they did ethnic cleansing via the Weather Channel.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
You can't have new building of HUD's approach to Hope 6. It's like Hopeless 6, where you have mixed income, mixed use homes, but you don't have jobs and transportation so that the people can become upwardly mobile. New Orleans was more than just a place. It had a soul and a spirit that emanated from the people. It is a Caribbean city that is well run. It has Spanish, it has Indian, it has French, it has African, it has European. It has all of those qualities, and that's what it makes it, that gumbo.
Yeah.
And really the gumbo is that dark brew that's at the bottom. That's what given this place. So I leave you, brothers and sisters, by first of all thanking you. And the untold story, there's plenty of untold stories. I'm glad Brother Kofi hit a couple of those licks for you. Through our CDC Action Community Development Corporation, we helped that Florida Astrodome. When I walked into the Florida Astrodome and looked there, Reverend Fanon, Carmel Squad, you look down and it looked like the layout of the slave ships that brought us over here. I was on the phone with my national headquarters. And I told the minister's national assistant, he said, brother, what do you need down there? I said, brother, we need $50,000 right away just to get started, to get our people up off this floor. He didn't know what I was looking at. I was crying. I was in tears. I'm not one of these kind of emotional cats that you're going to catch crying. But somebody caught me crying. He said, I'll get back with you. I'll talk with the minister and I'll get back with you. The minister sent a message back to me. He said, brother, I gave you a city. And in this city, we went to work. Because the Red Cross oftentimes double-crossed our people, and the March of Dimes, them dimes seem to march away from us. And the United Way, well, they unite with us, but every way we need them to unite. So our people had a distrust for these organizations at FEMA. So our Action CDC, Reverend Cofield, we can say that we had 12 full-time employees. We worked with all of the agencies, Grady, whether federal, state, and local, and the grassroots, and our New Orleans people. We can say that we helped 1,500 families and 4,500 individuals to get off the floor of that Astrodome and then get to some level of self-sufficiency. That's another one of those over $3.2 million in direct and indirect services we provided to our people. We're proud to say that. We love you. We welcome you here to Houston. Houston can be your home if you want it to be, but if you want to go home, then as an urban planner, it is in my heart and in my soul to go with you and let's replan and rebuild the Ninth Ward as we built the other parts of New Orleans. Let's get you an option to go back if you want to go back home. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
And so, 10 years later, here we are. Still living in a tale of two cities. Houston and New Orleans are two cities, but within New Orleans there are still two cities. One whiter and richer, the other poorer and black. Gentrified, displaced. You can't go home again despite the public rhetoric because the city is too expensive. 54% of all black men are unemployed in the city. And the rents are now 45% higher than they used to be. And the homes are 50% higher. The black median income is only $25,000 and the white median income is $60,000. The prisons are 5 times higher in their population rate of black men than the rest of the country. And I could go on and on with these statistics, but I refer you to 3 or 4 studies where you can see for yourself. One is an article that I wrote last year that was published in the Times-Picayune newspaper. The second was the recently released State of Black New Orleans by the Urban League. The third is something called the Katrina Pain Index, and the fourth was a study released by the Kaiser Foundation. They all say the same thing. The recovery jumped over the black community. It skipped it and passed it by. And so, don't drink the Kool-Aid. When you hear all the rhetoric about the recovery, yes, there's been a transformation of New Orleans, but for some people and not all people. That's the problem. Had it been a democratic recovery and justice and fairness and equity, then the city would not be unsustainable. But as we know it today, New Orleans is an unsustainable city. But let me just say this in wrapping this up. We do not kid ourselves about Houston. We do not idolize Houston as some panacea that has solved the problems of black people, because let's not kid ourselves. Black people in Houston got problems too. Serious problems. Racism didn't jump over Houston. Elitist classism didn't pass by Houston. Gender discrimination didn't. Exploitation didn't by gender, by nationality, language, or place of origin. The same contradictions in New Orleans exist right here in Houston. The numbers say 25% of all black people in this town are economically marginal. And gentrification is wiping out the 3rd ward, the 4th ward, and the 5th ward just as it is in New Orleans. Why am I saying that? To very simply say, don't think about New Orleans as them. Think about Houston as us.
Yeah.
Because we are family. And the pain of New Orleans is the pain of Houston. And the pain of Houston is the pain of New Orleans. And so the challenge for all of us is to be Houstonians, or Orleanian Houstonians, whichever way you prefer it. We need to form partnerships with each other to promote equity and justice wherever our people are. And we need to understand that Orleanians didn't just come here since Katrina. We've been here a long time. We came here over 100 years ago, and way back in the days of slavery, we came here because before that thing you all call the Alamo, there was no slavery in the Texas Constitution. It was only after the Alamo that it was placed in, you all do know that, right?
Yes, sir.
That it was only after that. So when you glorify what happened at the Alamo, you need to know what you glorify. And when you lift up what happened called Juneteenth in Houston, in Galveston, you need to understand why. Remember, Texas was the western frontier of the Confederacy. Do not forget that. And without the military, that document called the Emancipation Proclamation didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. So only when the troops were able to march this away were they able to say, here is the document and y'all are free. Of course, it only applied to those states in rebellion against the United States. It didn't free all African-descended people. I could go on and on about that story. But the point is that Louisianians and Houstonians and Texans are inextricably bound together, folks. We've got this long historical relationship, and the challenge for us now is to see all of ourselves as Katrina evacuees, to see all of ourselves as Houstonians, to see all of ourselves as Orleanians, to see all of ourselves as African-descended people and progressive humanity anywhere in the world, because we are not against all people being free. We do not want to oppress anybody in the world. Everybody has the right to their own humanity on their own terms, and we must affirm that, and we must insist that we will not support the oppression of any other human beings on this planet. Plain and simple. We are justice warriors and advocates because we think that is the divine plan, and that is the future of the human race. So Katrina has taught us that we are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. And Katrina has taught us that but for the grace of God, there go you and I. Because Rita came right after. And we ran up 45 and got stuck. And then here come Gustav, and here come Ike. And we wound up migrating from Texas back to Louisiana. My Lord, what's going on? So I hope that what we have tried to do with this 10th year observance has been something that you have learned from. I hope that it is something that has inspired in you the will to see justice done and peace among the human creation that God has planted here. I hope that you have heard something that inspires you to want to be a difference maker and want to say never again for anyone. And that to stretch out your hands for justice and equity and peace. I want to thank you all for coming, but I also want to thank some other people. I want to thank, first of all, my wife, because over the last month, I have been doing Katrina in New Orleans and Houston and everywhere else, and she has been very kind, considerate, loving, and patient, but she knows the difference, and she knows I am so happy that this is just about over. So we thank you, my dearly beloved wife. Thank you so much, and thank you for your wonderful participation on this program. I want to thank the S.H.A.P.E Center, which is like our home and our partner in what we try to do here in Houston, and Brother Lloyd Parker, who is a loyal and good friend of ours. I want to thank him. I want to thank Baba Fena, who comes whenever we ask him to every year. He's just willing to be as supportive as he can and grab his drummers and dancers and come. We want to thank the Anointed Feet of Praise from Metropolitan CME Church for coming and sharing that wonderful dance with us. we want to thank Brother Kwame Mitchell for handling the sound in the rear and the keyboards there. Want to thank Brother Lowell Taylor, who is the co-chair of NOAH, who handles the desk back there, who has testimonials and who backs me up all the time, all around. I just couldn't get any better than that friend. Want to thank Brother Larry Moore, who I can't thank enough, because he has been my right-hand person and has made the difference for me, because he's taken a huge load off of my shoulders on a day-to-day basis. A very, very competent brother who can do most anything that needs to be done. Someone who I have just come to love so very deeply, most noble. And he knows what that means. But I appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate your competence. I appreciate your compassion. I appreciate your talents, your gifts, your love, and I know God has tremendous things in store for you, and especially with that beautiful lady who is the love of your life, Micah, over there. Just want to say thank you for letting him do all of what he does, too. So thank you so much, brother. And I want to thank Brother Harvey Yancey, who has prepared the food in the back of the room that we will partake of. Yay! So we want to thank him. And is there anybody who I should have thanked that I didn't thank? All of the program participants? Did I miss anybody?
Patrick, for sure.
Huh? Oh yeah, that's right. Patrick, where are you? Where are you, Patrick?
Right.
Where are you? Oh, forgive my bad eyes. Patrick does the program, the sign-in sheet, the videoing, the photography, the advice, and Patrick got that website, www.NOAHORG.COM. He got that website up and running, and he's up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning like I am. And I mean, I don't know how many ways I can say thank you to Patrick, except that, brother, you're just so talented that God gifted you, and I know God ain't finished with you yet. Patrick is also a recent author and has a book out and had a book signing not too long ago, and I'm sure he'll be willing to tell you about it. But thank you, all of you, so very much, and I look forward to what NOAH is going to be doing and partnering with all of the energy that you all are now bringing to making us move forward. It's just a blessing. It's just a blessing, and I can't say thank you in enough ways. So with that, I would just like us to stand. Brother Yancey, where are you? Brother Harvey, is he still with us, or is he still with us? Yes, sir. You want to do your Katrina prayer while we're eating, before we're eating, or you want to let it go? Huh? Well, the way we adjourn is by doing the Harambe's, which means let's all pull together. That is what we have to do, and that is who we are as a people. And we give thanks to the Most High for allowing us to be here, and we're thankful for you. So, all three, we say,